everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Mish Men Podcast, or M Cubed. Today you're here with me, Dustin Labar, and to my left, my partner in crime, my direct left, Mr. Adam Mauser.
How do you do?
I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode on psychological ops, or PsyOps.
That's right.
It was fun for me, and we even talked about it after the episode was over.
That's right.
So it was good.
There's plenty more.
Yeah, there's lots more. You could have
lots of gold to mine.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff to talk about. Again, if you heard last week, Makai is here again this week.
That's right. He stayed over the week.
He stayed the whole week. He doesn't have a job. He's living. He's gonna be like my pool boy, even though I don't have a pool.
There you go.
So I guess I'll just water my grass or something.
You have a bucket?
I do have a bucket.
There you go.
He could make sure my bucket has the appropriate amount of
and
chlorine.
no bugs and leaves in it.
Yep, that's exactly right. So make sure you keep that bucket clean. But yeah, he's here visiting, and he's gonna hang out again for this episode. He just sits quietly drinking whiskey, so he's like the perfect guest for this podcast.
This could be a thing.
Yeah. Who's sitting quietly sipping whiskey during this week's episode of Mish Men?
You remember the Tom Green show?
Yeah, of course.
When that dude would be back behind the window, just like doing random things.
Yeah. That's what we
never
should do.
said a whole lot.
Yeah, that would kind of be funny to have somebody just in the camera frame, like just doing a weird thing.
Just drinking.
Yeah, just like. I bet James would do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, James would do it.
Yeah, maybe this guy, Tim, that...
we do have another lead on Tim Pickens. So
yeah.
if you all have listened to Reaching for the Bars episode with Tim Pickens on it, and Makai for you, Tim Pickens is a self-taught rocket scientist and worked for a guy that invented inflatable, I guess, rooms that attach to the space station. He also put a rocket on a bicycle.
An asphalt rocket.
Asphalt rocket. And he's done a bunch of crazy things, and he has some wild stories, and you're going to be shocked, but he likes aliens, so I liked him. He's a very interesting character. So we're going to try to get him on Mish Men. It's a little bit, we've talked about this before, it's a little bit better of a venue for somebody that liked him, because there's not so much stuff going on. You can kind of just get to the questions and let him go. So hopefully within the next few weeks, month or so, we'll get Tim back on here.
So.
And,
yeah, we need somebody to sign our sign again.
We do. Actually, Makai should sign it. He's technically. We should have had Abby the intern sign it.
Oh, that's right.
Why didn't we do that?
Well, I can just take that home and she can sign it and I'll bring it back.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about something that I love, and actually Makai likes it too. It's a little bit UFC, a little bit boxing, a little bit everything. So hopefully you guys like this topic. So the reason I brought this up is because soon, within the next couple weeks, Tyson Fury, possibly one of the best heavyweight boxers of all time, if not the best, is fighting former UFC champion Francis Ngannou in a boxing match. Contest? Boxing match.
I think it is a match.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah, no, I was kind of thinking, it felt weird when I said it, so I wasn't sure. But anyway, gas station hot dogs. Anyway, so here's the thing. So you like this, you like to talk about this as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very interesting. So let me just lay out the dilemma, and then we can talk about a multitude of other things where this spreads out to a bunch of different things.
A myriad?
A myriad of things, or a mishmash of things. So Francis Ngannou, former UFC champion.
And he was heavyweight champion, right?
Yeah, heavyweight champion. He walks, for those of you that want to know, he's basically built. Have you ever heard Francis Ngannou's story?
No, I've heard you reference him many times on RFTB podcasts.
Okay, listen to Joe Rogan podcast. There's a recent episode with Francis Ngannou.
I saw that,
and then there's an older one.
Yeah.
Listen to the older one, and you may have to fumble through some of the stuff that he's talking about.
I'm good at fumbling.
And the newest episode, he's better. He's from Cameroon, but he has a very thick French accent.
Yeah.
And so when he first talked to Joe Rogan, you have to get used to the French accent.
Right.
But if you listen,
I speak French.
You do?
Yeah.
Are you fluent?
Yeah.
Oh.
Je suis.
Je suis?
That's about it.
Do you remember, what was it in the 90s? There was that Muzzy taught you kids French and other languages. I'll pull it up. Actually, maybe Abby the intern. Muzzy.
Yeah, I've never heard of this, but
Muzzy used to be a commercial, and it taught you how to speak languages. It was like a video that you put in, and this like little animal taught you how to speak different language. Anyway, Francis Ngannou has a wild story how he got to America. It's wild. You're like, oh my, like he was in a salt mine
Oof.
Just like digging.
That's like the worst kind of mine.
All the time. And he like tried to escape like 10 times and kept getting brought back. And that made me sound dumb.
I think it's bringed back.
Bring it back?
Yeah.
Bring back. So, but it's a while. And he's one of those guys that had he been born in America with his physical gifts, he'd probably be an NFL player. I mean, he's 280 pounds walking around.
That's a large
chiseled,
man.
like 285 chiseled. He fights at 265. He has to cut weight to fight to the heavyweight limit.
That's unreal.
But it's an
cut weight down to 260.
I mean, but he's like cut out of stone.
How tall is he?
6'4" ish.
6'4"
to 6'4". But he cuts down to 265. But he said it's not a bad cut. But he's chiseled at 280.
And so just to refresh me, heavyweights, there's no upper limit on heavyweights in UFC,
there is an upper limit. 265 is the upper limit.
Oh, that's why he has to cut.
So
if I weigh 266, I can't fight in UFC.
No, there's a 1 pound. It's 266.01 pounds.
So,
yes.
But above that, you can't.
Correct.
I have to cut.
So the UFC technically has a super heavyweight division, but it's never been opened. So they have a division. If they had enough people to do it, they could open it. But 265 is the limit.
That's huge.
And some of the guys do have to cut down. Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, that's a large dude.
He cut from 300 to 265.
Yeah.
They've never opened the super heavyweight division, but it would be a slow, wild fight. But he's carved out of granite. Yeah. He's an absolute physical specimen. He was older when he learned how to box. Like he wasn't trained as a kid because he was working in the salt mines.
Right.
And then Tyson Fury, who grew up as a gypsy in England.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about gypsies in England, is they all fight.
Right.
They all box. Like I shouldn't say they're not like fighting like with their street fighting, but they're learning how to box correctly.
Right. It's like a cultural thing.
Yeah,
right?
it's a cultural
thing.
So
they call him boxing.
They call him the Gypsy King.
Yeah,
that's what they call. That's his name. So,
and when you look at him, you're like, come on. If that guy, he's got the skills. He's got the prowess and the skills.
So skillful.
Yeah.
And
it's deceiving.
Take a punch. My God, can take a freaking punch. So he actually to comment on your point, it's funny because Francis actually commented on the newest Joe Rogan podcast. He was like, Tyson Fury tries to trick you. Like he's like, look how fat I am.
Yeah.
And
I look sloppy.
He's like, grab my fat. and he's like, you have to remember that guy's a killer.
Yeah.
Like he's doing it on purpose. He's like, look how sloppy I am.
I must be slow.
Yeah, I'm probably not good at fighting. And then you just get like a right hand from nowhere and knocks you out. So
imagine getting hit by one of those guys.
Sure couldn't.
Yeah.
Francis Ngannou has the hardest. They have a thing to measure punching power.
Right.
He has the highest rated punching power in the UFC, and it's higher than most people's kicks. So so
a kick is like a heavy leg, and you have that long distance and that acceleration that the leg can make because they have that long distance to make.
There's a reason in soccer they kick the ball and don't punch it,
right?
Because it goes way farther when you kick it.
F equals ma. Force equals mass times acceleration.
So he is an absolute wrecking machine, but boxing's totally different. So let me just lay out.
Yeah, it's more technical.
The speculation or the theories is that there's theory one where I'll say Francis Ngannou wins. Tyson Fury has so much skill and so much more experience and is not worried about him, is probably not training. This is not me saying this. This is what somebody's saying. So he underestimates, and in fact, this just recently happened. This is the best crap talk you've ever heard. Is Tyson Fury literally said, this is going to be so easy that I booked another heavyweight fight 2 months from now. So I'm going to fight Francis Ngannou as like a warm-up, and then I'm going to go fight Usyk, who's like a legit boxer. And he's like, I don't even care about Francis Ngannou.
Now, do you think that's a psyop on Tyson's
It looks like the fight's actually scheduled. It looks like he's actually going to fight. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because it's all that stuff is a mind game.
But,
right?
And let me tell you why I think it is a psyop to get in Francis Ngannou's head. But let me tell you probably why he's doing it. He took a absolute knockout punch from Deontay Wilder.
I remember that.
That to any other man on earth
I would have died.
You would be different. You would be a different person.
Yeah, I'd have a drool cup.
You wouldn't remember your family. Like you'd be different. He sat up like the Undertaker.
I remember that.
and stood up and then won the rest of the round.
Yeah.
So Deontay Wilder, if you watch the video, it's actually sad because Deontay Wilder
he thought he won, right?
He's cheering.
Yeah.
He's like, I am the man.
I beat this
and
guy.
It looks like WWE wrestling. He turns, he's like, no. It's like Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? So he took a punch from what some people consider Deontay Wilder, when he hits you, he puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
He's one of the only guys that has absolute one-punch knockout power. And Tyson Fury has taken that punch and gotten up. So there's a thought that he is literally like, there's no way Francis Ngannou punches harder than Deontay Wilder because Deontay Wilder does it in 16-ounce gloves. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be able to take his shots. I'm not even worried about it. I'm going to outbox him. It's going to be nothing. So he totally underestimates Francis. And it turns out Francis does have absolute nuclear bomb power and lays a clean shot like Tyson Fury looks at the clock or a showboat and just takes an absolute, and Francis Ngannou knocks him out. That could happen. That's one of the options.
So let me ask you this, and you might be getting to this.
Yeah.
And if you want to get to like your punchline.
No, go ahead.
All right. So the way this fight could go is one of two ways. You have somebody that in Ngannou's that he's got such incredible punching power that it doesn't matter his skills as long as he can remain largely untouched, because he can take a punch too.
Sure, yeah.
Largely untouched from Tyson Fury, as long as he is able to land that knockout punch where the neck snaps and the brain kind of rattles around.
Shuts it off.
And you're done, and you're going to fall to the ground. There's that version of it.
Yep.
And then there's the other version that Tyson Fury, while he can throw a punch and he can receive a punch, but he's got the boxing skills, because that's a different game than UFC.
For sure.
It's much more technical. They call it the sweet science of boxing, because there is a lot of finesse to it.
Sure.
Even though it looks like just two guys just punching it out, but there's a lot of angles and feints and that sort of thing, and setting people up. George Foreman's famous for that, just setting up round after round after round of, this is what I'm going to do.
Yep.
I'm going to do this move, but I'm going to set up that move for this final thing. They do that in UFC also, but boxing's probably a lot more finesse in that. But so which way do you think it's going to go?
So, yeah, the other thing is that, exactly right, that the other thing that people, and the odds are saying this, 7-1 favorite, Tyson Fury, the odds are saying it, is that Tyson Fury could outskill him so much that it's, he's just going to win. There's not a chance. I tend to lean to that side. It's a different sport.
Yeah, way.
It's like different. If it's not unlike Michael Jordan being like, I'm a phenomenal athlete, I'm going to go do baseball.
Yeah.
And we know how that worked out.
Yeah.
He could kind of hit. He had like a 200 batting average maybe.
Yeah. He was athletic in baseball.
And he could kind of do some
But he wasn't Michael Jordan.
He wasn't Michael Jordan in baseball. Yes, Francis could absolutely land that nuclear bomb and put somebody to sleep.
But would he do the Undertaker move? He is in it.
Well,
Tyson Fury.
Maybe.
That's incredible.
So, I mean, it's a win-win for both of them, I think.
Oh yeah.
So because it's an immediate rematch if Francis Ngannou knocks him out. But then the other win is that if win, lose, or draw, Francis Ngannou has already said that when this fight is over, he will make in this fight more than he's made in his entire UFC career.
Yeah.
So every fight he's ever had in the UFC, he's going to make more money than that in one fight. So it's a win-win. So I'm all for it. I don't really care who wins.
When is it?
End of October. Makai, can you search that on your phone?
That's one of those ones that I want to see. I want to see with a group of people.
I'm going to watch it. And like Francis in the UFC is scary because he has 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
And he has absolute, like he just has career-ending power. Like people aren't the same when they.
And he's not slow.
October 28th. Man, if it wasn't so late, we could do a mishmash men watching. Talk crap about it. I'll have to look it up.
Let's discuss.
We'll talk later. But so this is one of those gimmicky fights, but it's less.
It's a good gimmick though.
But it's the best gimmick that's been so far because
you got somebody like Jake Paul fighting Nate Diaz. I love Nate Diaz. I don't like his attitude, but the dude has skills, mad skills.
Yeah, he can box.
But Jake Paul's he's this YouTube phenomenon. I mean, he's got some skills, but it's Jake Paul. But these two, that's like a big deal.
Yeah, well, he got like Jake Paul has punching power, but not punching power like we're talking about here.
No.
Like the reason it's cool is that Francis can knock somebody out.
Yeah.
He can knock somebody out. I think 16-ounce gloves or not, if he lands, like if Tyson's going in, if Tyson's coming in and he's landing a punch, I mean, it's going to be a problem. Like you're going to go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, so on this, like he's got a game he could play. He could go, obviously he's got contingencies in this, but he could say, well, I know I'm going to get tired because these gloves are a lot heavier than what I'm used to. So do I go fast and fierce in the beginning, hoping that I knock him out in the beginning, or do I play the long game and like train as much as I can, play the long game, and just bide my time for that? Yeah. So who's training him in this?
You're gonna like this.
Yeah, I know.
Mike Tyson. Is training.
That's my hero, man. I love Mike Tyson.
Here, you want to know what
I was like 14, 15, 16 when he was like getting famous.
When he was ending fights in the first round, everybody was like, "But we paid $50 for this."
Loved it. We went pay-per-view, but it was in like this arena. Like my dad took me to this thing. It was great, and we're watching a screen at Hara Arena in Dayton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. It was awesome.
I mean, here's what I think is going to happen. I think Mike Tyson's going to be like, "Don't throw a bunch of punches in the beginning of the fight.
Bide your time.
Crowd him." I think he's going to do Mike Tyson. I think he's going to crowd him. I think he's going to throw really short shots and try to wear. I think he's going to try to lay his 275-pound body on Tyson Fury, let him carry all that muscle, and like try to tire him out. And then when Tyson Tyson Fury's supposed to win. If you can frustrate him the first 5 rounds and like let him open up, like that's how Francis wins. Is you don't want him outboxing you like skill. You want him to open up.
Or be overconfident.
And I think it's going to be a wild fight. I think part of me also thinks Francis is going to swing for the fences and just be like, listen, if I'm going to win.
He's going to be tempted. For sure he's going to be tempted.
He's like, part of me thinks it's going to be like the bell rings and he's got both hands by his side and it's just like rock'em sock'em robot. And he's just going to throw.
The windmill.
Yeah, just throw bombs and just hope one connects and just, but. Tyson Fury, when Tyson Fury was in Deontay Wilder, like you talk about psyops, it couldn't have made Deontay Wilder look worse. After the fight was over, he was like, I think he had weights in his hands.
Yeah. He cheated.
And you're like, so you're saying that he hit so hard that you think he had weights in his hands. You think that's worse for him? Like that you think that he's like you thought that he had egg weights in his hands and he was hitting you with the weights? I was like, come on, man. That makes you look terrible. But, I mean, I think it's the best gimmick fight so far.
100%.
So, but
I love it.
Do you know the story with Francis Ngannou in the UFC?
No.
So he's not part of the UFC anymore.
Oh, he's not?
He's not. So there was...
Why did he quit?
He was the UFC champion.
Yeah.
Now you're getting into my forte. He was the UFC champion. He was up for a new contract. He wanted a certain amount of money. Mm-hmm. He wanted certain things. And then wanted the ability. He's like, I'm with the UFC, but you guys have to give me the ability to go box for a couple reasons. He always wanted to be a boxer. Mm-hmm. Never got a chance. And also boxing is the big payday. So I will fight for you X amount of fights, but I also want the option, just like Conor McGregor had when I fought Floyd Mayweather, to leave the UFC, not leave, but to stop training for the UFC, to go train for boxing, box, and then come back.
And it kind of just float.
And
Dana White's like, nah, I don't think so.
Nope. They said we need the, so he went to, 1FC? I think he went to 1FC. So he signed a contract with another organization that gave him the ability to fight, to box. Uh-huh. And then also he had a certain amount of fights that he'll have to fight on that contract. So he's with another UFC or MMA organization. PFL. Yeah, you're right. PFL. Makai just came in with a great information.
We're going to get a stick figure now.
Yeah, PFL.
Abby the intern's going to be all over it.
But
you're going to be a stick figure.
Here's the problem with that is that name one heavyweight in the PFL.
I didn't know PFL was a thing till Makai said PFL.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Who is he going to fight that would be worth his legacy? Zero, because that's a lose.
And he's not a big enough name to make PFL a thing.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I think you need other people in that organization to kind of bolster him, and they just don't have it right now.
But the thing is, though, it's a win-win for him, because let's say he does this, and let's say he does okay, but then worst case scenario, Tyson Fury wins, And then is there another fight where he's going to fight Tyson Fury in a PFL UFC or not UFC but MMA fight?
I don't think that's going to happen.
So it's just strictly boxing.
Yep.
But then he comes back, hat in hand to Dana. Hey, learn my lesson.
Yep.
Can I come back to the UFC? I mean, why wouldn't Dana White take him back in UFC?
There's only one fight that anybody cares about. It's John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. That's the only thing anybody cares about.
Yeah.
And so the only
Is John Jones still can he still do it?
He just whooped the crap out of Cyril Gane.
Oh, really?
I mean, you didn't see it?
No.
I mean, so Cyril Gane, this is my favorite stuff to talk about.
I know.
Cyril Gane is a Frenchman.
I purposely didn't study any of this because I know I like churning it.
So Cyril Gane, he had his first UFC fight as a heavyweight.
Yeah.
For the title. So he goes in, so they're like, John Jones just put on all this weight, hasn't fought in 3 years, he's going to be rusty, not going to do good. Cyril Gane is the fastest, best moving heavyweight in the UFC. He's got the best footwork. It's going to be impossible for John to deal with his stuff. And John's been out for too long.
Yeah.
When I tell you, I don't even know if Cyril Gane punched him one time. He took him down immediately and beat the crap out of him. It was seconds.
Like to the ground and then just ground and pound.
I mean, just hammered. I mean, it was not. I think he finished him with a submission. Did he choke him out? He just beat him and then choked him. I mean, it was like you were like, oh, like kind of in the back. You know when you have something in the back of your head where you're like, this is pretty much what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then in the front of your head, you're like, maybe not. Maybe Cyril Gane gives him something. But it was just like John got a hold of him, took him to the ground.
That guy's a machine.
Took him down. So he's about to fight Stipe Miocic. Mm-hmm. Stipe is probably the best heavyweight of all time in the UFC. He's defended the belt more times than anybody else. He's just an old school firefighter from Ohio.
He's got to be quality
crazy,
right there from Ohio.
I mean, he's got a crazy chin. And it's going to be a fight. He's going to give John Jones a hard time. He has all the skills. But if John Jones wins, the only thing anybody's going to talk about is could he beat Francis Ngannou?
So what's John Jones' weakness? Is it ground? Is it
has no weaknesses?
He's got to have a weaker area.
His striking is not as good as some of the top tier heavyweight strikers.
Yeah.
But his grappling is so good that they can't stop. Now he can strike.
Yeah.
But he doesn't fall into that. He's not the guy that says I'm going to beat you at your own game. He's the guy that says I'm going to beat you at whatever you're bad at.
Right.
So if
and that's like the best technique. So everyone has a weakness.
Yeah.
So you attack that weakness. That's a Sun Tzu thing.
He is undefeated. He's never been beat.
Yeah.
He lost one fight. It's because he was absolutely brutalizing this guy.
And they disqualified it, right?
12-6 elbow. And that was illegal.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't be illegal because it's no worse than this.
Right.
It's the same. I mean, it's no worse, but it is in the rules. And the guy that he fought was deaf. I think they felt bad for him, so they gave him a pass. Matt the Hammer Hamill. Yeah. I remember that. I was watching that fight. John Jones was beating the ever-loving crap out of this guy. Like, he didn't stand a chance. And
he was probably just trying to end it.
He likes to inflict damage, which is one of his things. So what has to happen is Francis fights Tyson Fury, win, lose, or draw, doesn't really matter. All he has to do is not totally get destroyed.
Right.
If he gets if he doesn't land punches and he's swinging at air,
or just like a first punch knockout from Fury,
or Fury punches.
But that's not likely because that dude can take a punch too.
I mean, he fights UFC heavyweights with 4-ounce gloves. He's going to be able to take a shot. So, as long as that doesn't go like the worst case scenario, like one punch knockout or is swinging at air, like there's nothing worse than either getting knocked out with one punch or you're just missing totally, like you're not hitting anything. He'll go to the PFL, and he has two questions then. Will you work with the UFC to get me to fight John Jones?
Yeah.
And will the UFC work with you?
I would love to see that.
Probably not, but maybe. Or he fights out his three or five fight contract with the PFL, then goes back to the UFC. But the problem is, Francis Ngannou sometimes only fights one time a year. So you're talking that could be 3 or 5 years, which put John Jones closer to his 40s.
Yeah.
And it's not the same. Like right now, John Jones, technically, he's like in his middle 30s. Like he's still in his prime.
Yeah.
He took some years off, but he was the champion when he was 22 years old.
Yeah.
So he's literally been the champion for like 11 years.
A long, long time. He's been dominant so long.
That's the only thing people care about is that fight. That's
I would love to see that.
Like
now, I would actually pay. I am not a pay-per-view guy.
Yeah.
I've been tempted a couple times. Yeah. I would pay for that.
I'm going to pay for Stipe John Now, if Stipe beats John, that's a horse of a different color. Because then the fight with Francis isn't so cool. Because Francis destroyed Stipe.
Yeah.
I mean, destroyed him the last time they fought. So it's not as cool of a fight now. Because you're like, oh, well, Stipe just beat John. And Francis beat Stipe easily. So that's a wrench. So Stipe could ruin that. And he may. He
could. You never know.
He's got a big, dumb, big, dumb, punchable head, and he takes a lot of shots. Did you ever see the punch that knocked out Stipe Miocic?
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. I'll have to show it to you after the podcast is over. For those of you listening, Google search it, or maybe Abby the intern can put the video right here. Wait. Right there.
There you go.
Anyway.
Well done.
So Stipe hits Francis with a punch. Rocks Francis. Francis takes a step back, and Stipe goes, here's my time. And he rushes at Francis, and Francis hits him one time, puts him out cold, like legs stuck behind him, flattens out, and then Francis drops a hammer fist on him, like out cold, leaves him dead.
Yeah, and then the referee jumps in. And
yeah, but he should have jumped in. After that hammer fist made Stipe take like a couple years off.
Yeah.
But that's why I said, like, Francis, like, changes your trajectory as a fighter.
Right.
Like, you can't go back in 6 months and fight because you just had your brain scrambled.
Right. That's a big dude hitting you.
I mean, how much would it cost to get, if I was like, Adam, Francis Ngannou is going to punch you directly in the face?
I'm too old for that.
But there's got to be a money. There's got to be amount of money. $10 million.
If I were younger and dumber, I would say yes. But I'm 53 years old, Dusty.
You just can't take a punt. You just can't take. You just can't.
I'm too
take
old for that stuff, man.
Like, would you turn to the dust?
Have you not seen me get up and down just like from on the ground?
Well, I'd help you up after it's over.
No, that's like me getting up and down from the ground.
You,
it's different. When you get older, you're just like, it takes longer to do all that stuff.
I mean, I think a clean shot from Francis where I have my hands behind my back. It's got to be. It's got
hands behind the back.
Well, I don't want to flinch. You're going to flinch. There's no way you don't flinch.
At least try to like slow it down with some wrists.
I'm talking like Francis comes in with a wad full of cash and he's like, I'm punching somebody in the face.
Yeah, I would never do that.
You would never do it?
Never.
100.
I would die.
You wouldn't die. You wouldn't die. You probably wouldn't be the same.
I don't want to be drinking out of a blender.
You won't be drinking. You've definitely been drinking from a straw for a little bit.
Yeah.
I would do it for $10 million. I would do it for 10. Makai, would you do it for 10? $5,000. I will put 2,500 up right now.
$5,000.
We're gonna talk about this tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
Hey Makai, we're talking about this tomorrow because I'm gonna message Francis Ngannou and be like, my brother will take a punch from you. I'll put up to 2,500. You know, Sliman will put it up.
Oh yeah.
Sliman will put up $6,000. So let's talk a little bit about. You a boxing fan? You used to be a boxing fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you were in the Tyson era, which is a great time to talk. Bernard Hopkins. He fought in some of the undercards, and he got bigger after Mike Tyson.
Oh, okay.
You don't remember him, Bernard Hopkins Jr.?
Yeah.
Okay. So boxing's always had a stigma of corruption.
Yeah.
Sometimes hard to watch because of how many organizations there are. Like this person.
Yeah, you got 3 different belts.
This guy's the champion here, and this guy's the champion here.
It's dumb.
So the theory is, or the thought is, these gimmick fights hurt boxing because you're putting what is possibly the best. You're putting possibly the best heavyweight of all time versus a guy that's never had a professional boxing fight.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all.
So, I'm on that same page.
Yeah,
I don't understand how more eyes on a sport could hurt your sport.
No.
I think it's these old.
All publicity is good publicity.
And I think it's these old heads being like, well, we don't like change. Well, your sport, your judging has been nonsense for, well, not the sport. Boxing's great. But the judging, the corruption, all that stuff in it is it's crazy.
Yeah, you just make yourself irrelevant if you say, well, no, we like the purity of boxing. Yeah. The purity of boxing? Come on.
Yeah, it's two guys.
Get out of here.
First off, it's two guys hitting each other as hard as they can.
Yeah, get out of here with that.
So if
you get more eyes, more attention to your sport, that's a good thing. And it's not like we're saying, okay, we're going to put a bear in there. We're going to, like you're going to have a boxing match with a bear. It's not some ridiculous thing. It's like this guy from a different sport, we're going to put him in the ring with this champion. Yeah. That sounds great.
Now, if they put like me in there, it would probably hurt boxing if they were like Tyson Fury versus this guy from Alabama.
Dusty. Who?
Yeah, I'd be like, put him.
Is that Mauser's partner in crime?
Yeah. Is that the guy from Mish, Man? He looks pretty scared. Now, if they did something like that, that's a gimmick that it's like may hurt boxing.
Yeah.
But you're talking about like a legitimate knockout artist.
It makes it
in
really
a combat
interesting.
Sport. Yeah.
Well, it's got me interested in looking into boxing again.
So bingo. So you're like, so now you may be like, it happened for me because I didn't really care about boxing.
No.
But now you're like, well, Floyd and Conor boxed.
Yeah.
And then you hear all this stuff like, oh, Floyd's the best boxer of all time. You're like, well, I want to watch him box now.
He's good.
The best well, he's never. I mean, he never gets hit. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And then like he even had that gimmick fight with Logan Paul. And I think it made him better. Like I think it made his legacy better because he like this guy who's 40 pounds heavier than him is talking all this crap. And I mean, Floyd Mayweather mopped the floor with him.
Yeah.
It was like they were fighting it's like they weren't even doing the same thing.
That's the thing about boxing. People attribute it to this like two guys just slugging it out. Those like a true boxer, like a guy like Floyd Mayweather, they have these skills of not getting hit. Yeah. They know what to do in order to not get hit. And then when I say not get hit, I don't mean like not touched.
Yeah.
But not get hit effectively.
Right.
And that's really neat to watch when somebody that's really skilled at that. Sugar Ray Leonard, he was a boxer back in the 80s.
I remember Sugar Ray.
Was he middleweight? I think he was middleweight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he fought Marvin
Hagler.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I loved Hagler. Yeah. Loved Hagler. And there was a couple other boxers and Sugar Ray Leonard were just making him look dumb.
Yeah.
Because he was so quick. He was kind of like Mayweather, where he was so fast and so good at not getting hit and then making his punches when he needed to and where he needed to. It was just like it is a skill.
If you're not a big boxing fan or MMA fan, when you watch somebody swinging and missing, you don't respect it. I don't think enough. But that guy that's avoiding the punishment, that takes so much like if I was like, I'm going to punch you as hard as I can in like 3, 2, 1 go, and you don't have any boxing training, I'm probably going to hit you.
Yeah.
And I just told you I'm going to hit you, and you still got hit. This guy, he's not sure when the punch is coming. He doesn't know where it's coming from really, but he's trained enough to see movements and think where that's going to go and then be able to move off the center line and get you to move one way and totally miss. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's set up. That's like, and it's speed, it's technique, it's all these things. Like, being defensively responsible is way harder than being just a crazy offensive fighter.
Right, yeah. George Foreman was good at that too. I mean, he was, he's a guy that can take a punch and can throw a punch.
Yeah.
But there was one fight, I can't remember who he fought, but when you watch the whole thing, you're like, I see what he was doing the whole time. He was setting the guy up for this one punch that he was going to make.
Yep.
And if it didn't work, it didn't work, but he would just do it again.
Yep.
But he was just developing the situation to the point where the guy gets lulled into this apathy, like, oh, I got him now. And then you just wait for that angle, and then you throw your punch and walk away. And if you're a guy like George Foreman, you're going to be able to throw a punch and deliver something. It might not knock him out then, but it's gonna sting.
It compromises him.
It compromises him, and it completely changes that guy's game plan. And once you get in that head, like, I thought I was beating this old guy's butt.
Yeah, now you're.
And he was now waiting, and now he sees, because he's a skilled boxer too. He sees that I just got lulled, I got snookered, and now my whole game plan is off.
Now it's panic mode.
Yeah. Now what do I do?
I think the best boxers and fighters, they're a little boring the first couple rounds.
Oh yeah,
because they're setting up, they're lulling you, they're setting up, they're seeing what you do when they move.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they start taking over, and then you're like, it's like you're neck deep water.
Yeah, like now I don't know what to do because I can just windmill. Yeah,
because I thought I was doing a good thing, but now they're using that good thing against me.
Yeah.
So it is fascinating. It is a fascinating sport. I mean, it's a fun sport to watch, boxing, when you watch a really good boxer fight another really good boxer. The same thing in the UFC. I mean, I really enjoy watching the UFC.
There's some good setups in UFC too.
I mean,
especially the strikers.
Strikers are, unbelievable. Like,
I like watching a good ground game, but the strikers, because you can see how it's obvious when someone's getting set up.
Yeah.
Usually after the fact.
Yeah, you're watching like the guys that feint a lot, and they're moving, and the guys like reacting to it, and you're just like, oh boy, you're in trouble.
Yeah, here comes a kick. Yeah, and then there it is. Good night.
Leon Edwards. Did you ever see that?
Who was he fighting?
Leon Edwards fought Kamaru Usman.
I did see that. Yeah.
You saw the head kick?
Yes.
4.5 rounds of domination by Kamaru Usman.
Yeah.
And Leon hits him with the sweet shin music, from Shawn Michaels, and puts him to sleep. I mean,
you remember the Crow Cop kick?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Crow Cop used to say, what did they used to say about Crow? Wait, when he got hit or when he kicked?
When he got kicked.
Oh, yeah.
And just completely.
Got Gabriel Gonzaga?
Yes. Yep. It's sickening to watch.
Yep.
It was just so bad to watch.
Yeah, when he got flatlined.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching somebody get flatlined is it's fun to watch, but you're also like, painful. That guy might be dead. Do you ever see, you probably never have. This is like Uriah Hall wheel kicked somebody, and he actually thought he killed him. So he was like upset after the fight was over because I never saw anybody like he was stiff as a board. Like he was like standing there like he was happy that he won, and then he realized like, oh boy, did I just commit murder in the cage? So it's all setup stuff. Like he was, set him up and hits him with this crazy.
Kind of bait him for this weakness that you're waiting on.
So I'm very excited to see this Francis Ngannou fight. I'm definitely going to buy the pay-per-view. I got to see what happens. I don't really care what the undercard is.
It'd probably be at like 11 at night though.
Yeah, and they don't ever like the UFC. The nice thing about watching UFC is if fights end early, they'll speed it up.
Yeah,
like they'll just be like, "Hey man, that last fight was a knockout. Get ready." In boxing, they're like, "We told Tyson Fury he was going on 11.
Yeah,
and we don't care that all the fights were knockouts and there's 2 hours left before he goes on. We're waiting 2 hours."
That's the other good thing about it. It's predictable.
Yeah.
As a viewer, you're like, well, he's not coming on until 11 Eastern.
That is fair. So you know that if you turn it on at 11, it's going to be 11 o'clock. But we should watch it if it's not too late, and on a Sunday. Sometimes they do that stuff on Sundays, which is nonsense. But I'm super excited to watch it. I think it's going to be, man. If we should put a little bit of money on Francis Ngannou, 7-1.
I don't know about that.
7-1.
It's unpredictable though.
It's unpredictable, but that's how you make that money.
Yeah.
7-1. I bet you it's. Well, maybe it's not that much because if they think if he wins, he's going to win by knockout. But I bet it's like 12 or 15-1 that he wins by knockout.
I don't know.
We should put money on that. And you put $100 on that. Now you're balling out of control. Now you have enough money to pay Francis Ngannou to punch Makai in the face.
That's right. Oh, on it. Heard.
Yep. Man, if it only takes $5,000 to get Francis Ngannou to punch him in the face.
$5,000, man.
He's young. That's a lot of money to him. He's like, that's worth the brain damage for forever.
Man, I wouldn't jaywalk for $5,000.
Yeah.
I'll let him get hit by a professional fighter.
Yeah, that literally punches harder than anybody else in the UFC. Well, we're going to talk about that again, Makai. That was funny. So yeah, I think we should do it. I'm glad that we brought this up. This is a good topic.
It's a good topic. I enjoyed it.
There's probably a lot more we could talk about, but let's keep it to Francis Ngannou, Tyson Fury. So October 28th. If you guys are interested in watching it, tune in, comment on it when it comes up.
Yes.
We'll talk about it again. Maybe we'll talk about it when it gets closer.
Let us know if you want those leather patch hats too.
Yeah, I do want one. So that's 1.
And that's 2.
2 for you. Makai, you want a leather patch hat? 3, but he's not going to pay for it. I'll have to pay for it. So, but that's okay.
Maybe he can pay for that $5,000 for Francis hitting him in the face.
He's not going to be able to wear a hat after that.
Well, you can cover the black eye.
Yes, I think it's
and the broken jaw.
And this crushed skull. All right, this has been fun. I enjoyed that. This is some of my favorite stuff to talk about. This and aliens.
UFC and aliens.
If aliens would come down and join the UFC, it would be unbelievable.
Man.
I'd never leave my house.
I'm throwing a false flag.
I would just be in my house watching UFC alien fights. Watch this alien take this guy's back. My God, it's unbelievable. So it's been fun. Adam, thanks for indulging me in this.
That was awesome. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, Makai, for sitting in there and being quiet like you're supposed to.
Like a champ.
Yeah, drinking whiskey. All right, this has been Mishmash Men. Until next week, guys. Thank you.
See you next time.